Welcome to the Retirement Wealth Podcast. In this episode, we're diving into a topic that's on a lot of people's minds: selling your home to fund your retirement. It's a big decision, and it can feel a bit overwhelming, right?
Absolutely, Emily. The family home is often one of our largest assets, and figuring out how to leverage it for retirement can be tricky, but also very rewarding.
Exactly. We're here to guide you through that process. I'm Emily Parker, and with me is the ever-reassuring David Carter, our trusted financial advisor.
Great to be here, Emily. Today we'll discuss some key points like assessing your home's value, the emotional aspects of selling, and how to make the most of the proceeds.
And we'll also touch on alternatives to selling, if that's something that interests you, so you can weigh all your options.
Right. And we can't forget about the tax implications. They can really impact your overall retirement strategy.
So whether you're considering selling your home or just curious about the possibilities, we've got insights and tips that can help you make informed decisions.
Let's get right into it. First up, let's talk about how to assess your home's value. What factors should people consider? So Emily, when we think about selling a home to fund retirement, it's really crucial that we recognize why this is so important right now. I mean, we're living in a time of, rising inflation and market volatility that can really shake up retirement plans.
Absolutely, David. I've heard so many stories from folks who are feeling the pressure. Like, just last week, I spoke with a couple, let's call them Tom and Lisa. They're in their early 60s, and they've been thinking about downsizing for a while now.
Right, that's a common scenario. And for many, their home might be their largest asset. But with the current economic climate, they're realizing that holding on to that asset could actually be a double-edged sword.
Exactly. Tom and Lisa were worried about their retirement timeline. With rising interest rates and uncertain property values, they started to wonder if now was the right time to sell, or if they should wait it out.
That's a tough decision. Waiting could mean higher taxes or, the risk of market downturns. Plus, with inflation, the cost of living is increasing, which can put even more pressure on their retirement savings.
Right, and they mentioned how healthcare costs are also weighing on their minds. It's not just about having enough money to live comfortably, but also planning for those unexpected expenses that can pop up.
Exactly. And we can't forget Social Security changes. There's always chatter about potential adjustments to benefits, especially with the aging population. Tom and Lisa were concerned that if they didn't act soon, their benefits might not stretch as far as they had hoped.
That's such a valid point. I think many people underestimate just how quickly things can change. The idea of selling their home, in Tom and Lisa's case, could provide them with cash flow that helps mitigate some of these risks.
For sure. And then there's the emotional side of this too. Leaving a home filled with memories can be really daunting. It's not just a financial decision, it's deeply personal.
Yes. They even talked about the memories they've built there. Like their kids growing up, family gatherings. It's hard to let go of that. But at the same time, they're realizing that their financial security in retirement is tied to making some tough choices.
Right. And it's about finding a balance. Selling their home could free up funds to invest in a more manageable living situation, or even allow them to travel or spend more on experiences that matter to them.
That's a great perspective. And let's not forget legacy planning. Many retirees want to leave something behind for their children or grandchildren, but it can be challenging if their home is their primary asset.
Exactly. If they sell and invest wisely, they could create a more substantial legacy rather than just passing down a house that might not hold as much value in the future.
It's all interconnected, isn't it? And then you have to consider the current economic trends. The market is unpredictable, and waiting too long might mean missing out on a lucrative sale.
True. I had another client. Let's call her Sarah. She waited a couple of years too long to sell her home, and when she finally did, the market had shifted. She lost out on a significant amount of potential equity.
Ouch. That's a tough lesson. It really underscores the importance of being proactive rather than reactive in this situation.
Absolutely. And the truth is, selling a home isn't just about the immediate financial gain. It's about creating a plan that encompasses their entire retirement picture.
Right. It's about having a strategy that considers not just their current needs, but also their future desires, like travel, hobbies, or even starting a new business.
Yes, and with the current financial landscape, it's essential to be tax efficient. Selling a home can have significant tax implications, and proper planning can help maximize their returns.
For sure. I remember Sarah also mentioning how confusing tax laws can be, especially when considering capital gains. It's another layer that complicates the decision.
Definitely, and having a solid understanding of those tax implications can make a huge difference in their overall retirement strategy. And let's face it, nobody wants to be caught off guard by a tax bill they didn't plan for.
Exactly. It all comes back to being informed and making decisions based on a comprehensive view of their situation.
Right, and as we've been discussing, it's not just about the numbers, it's about peace of mind. Knowing that they've made the right choice is invaluable.
That emotional security is so important. Retirement should be a time of joy and freedom, not anxiety.
Well said. And I think that's where a good financial advisor can really help. They can guide clients through all these considerations, helping them make informed choices that align with their goals.
Yes. So, David, with all these things in mind, what are some core strategies that people like Tom and Lisa can use to navigate this process and ensure a smooth transition into retirement?
So when we think about selling your home to fund retirement, it's really about understanding how that fits into your overall financial picture.
Right, and a big part of that picture is how you plan to manage those assets afterward. So let's dive into some strategies, starting with your investment options, like stocks and bonds.
Absolutely. Many retirees tend to lean towards more conservative investments, but it's important to find the right balance. A common rule of thumb is the 70-30th portfolio, 70% in stocks and 30% in bonds. It can provide a good mix of growth and stability.
Yeah, and it's interesting because as you get closer to retirement, you might want to shift that balance a bit, right? Maybe go to 60-40ths or even 50-50, depending on your risk tolerance.
Exactly, and that's where it becomes really personal. You also want to consider how much income you'll need in retirement. That's where Social Security and other income sources come into play.
Speaking of income, what about tax-advantaged accounts like 401ks and IRAs? How do they fit into this whole plan?
Great question. When you sell your home, you might be sitting on a pile of cash. It can be tempting to just cash out and spend, but if you funnel that money into tax-advantaged accounts, like IRAs or a Roth IRA, you could really maximize your tax efficiency.
Right, because with a traditional IRA, you get that tax deduction up front, but with a Roth IRA, you pay taxes now, and then the withdrawals are tax-free later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, if you think about it, having that tax diversification can really help as tax rates change in the future. Plus, if you're planning to sell your home, you might qualify for a capital gains exclusion, which can shield a significant amount of profit from taxes.
So if you're married and you sell your home for a profit of up to $500,000, you won't owe any capital gains tax on that, right?
That's correct. And that can be a big benefit. But then the question becomes, how do you take that money and make it last?
Well, let's talk about withdrawal strategies. I've heard of the 4% rule. Can you explain that a bit?
Sure. The 4% rule suggests that you can withdraw 4% of your retirement savings each year without running out of money for about 30 years. So if you have $1 million saved, that means you could withdraw $40,000 annually.
Sounds simple enough, but are there any caveats to that rule?
Definitely. Market conditions can affect it. If the market takes a downturn early in retirement, it could have a significant impact on the longevity of your portfolio. That's why some people prefer the bucket strategy.
What's that?
The bucket strategy divides your assets into different buckets for different time horizons. For example, you could have one bucket for cash and short-term bonds for the first few years of retirement, and then another bucket invested in equities for the longer term.
That makes sense. It allows you to weather market fluctuations while still having access to cash when you need it.
Exactly. And this strategy can help mitigate the risks associated with market volatility. You can adjust the allocations over time as well.
So if someone sold their home and had a good chunk of change, they could create buckets with that money?
Yes, and it gives you flexibility. Plus, you can keep an eye on your asset allocation to make sure it's aligned with your goals.
Which leads us to another important aspect, diversification.
Right. Diversification is key to managing risk. You don't want all your eggs in one basket. So spreading out investments across various asset classes, like stocks, bonds, and real estate, can help protect against volatility.
And you can diversify within those categories too, right? Like having different sectors of stocks or varying types of bonds.
Exactly. For example, you might have some domestic stocks, some international stocks, and then different types of bonds, government and corporate bonds, for instance.
And let's not forget about annuities. They can provide a steady income in retirement too.
Yes, annuities can be a great option for some retirees. They provide guaranteed income for a specific period or even for life, which can help cover basic living expenses.
But they can be complex, right? It's important to read the fine print and understand the fees involved.
Absolutely. You want to make sure you're clear on any surrender charges and how the income is taxed. They can be a great tool, but they're not for everyone.
So much to consider. And tax savings techniques can also play a role in your overall strategy.
You're right. For example, staggered withdrawals from accounts to minimize your tax bracket, or using tax loss harvesting in taxable accounts can help as well.
And all of this really emphasizes the importance of planning. It's not just about how much you have, but how you manage it.
Exactly. And as you're approaching retirement, it's wise to have a plan in place for how you'll transition from earning income to relying on your investments and savings.
We've covered a lot of ground, but before we wrap up, what are some common pitfalls people should watch out for when selling their home to fund retirement?
Oh, there are quite a few. You know, Emily, one of the most common pitfalls I see with retirees is this thing called sequence of returns risk.
Oh, that's a big one. Can you explain a bit more about what that means?
Sure, so it's basically the risk of receiving lower or negative investment returns early in retirement, right when you're starting to withdraw from your savings. If that happens, it can really throw a wrench in your plans.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a problem. It's like if you're trying to sell your house, but the market crashes right when you need to sell. Your timing could really hurt you.
Exactly. I had a client, let's call her Jane, who planned to retire in 2008. She was really excited, but then the market took a nosedive. She started withdrawing from her portfolio at the worst possible time, and it set her back years.
That sounds tough. So what could she have done differently?
Well, Jane could have considered a more flexible withdrawal strategy, or even a cash reserve to bridge the gap during market downturns. It's all about having a plan that accounts for those fluctuations, you know?
Right. And speaking of planning, I think another mistake people make is ignoring taxes when they're figuring out their withdrawal strategy.
Absolutely. Taxes can eat away at your retirement savings more than you might think. I had another client, Tom, who didn't account for taxes on his withdrawals. He ended up pulling more money from his accounts than he needed to, just because he didn't realize how much tax he would owe.
Oh no, that must have been a rude awakening for him.
It really was. He could have minimized his tax burden by staggering his withdrawals or choosing different accounts to withdraw from.
That's a good point. So it's not just about how much you're taking out, but also where you're taking it from.
Exactly. Then there's also the issue of underestimating healthcare costs and longevity.
That's a biggie. I mean, healthcare costs just keep rising, right?
Yes, and it's something many people overlook. I had a couple, let's call them Mike and Sarah, who thought they'd be just fine with their savings. But when Mike had a medical emergency, their healthcare expenses skyrocketed, and it really put them in a tight spot financially.
Wow, that's a wake-up call. So how can people prepare for those unexpected healthcare costs?
One way is to factor in long-term care insurance or even consider health savings accounts, if they're eligible. It's all about having a cushion for those unexpected events.
And what about longevity? I mean, people are living longer these days.
Yes! That's another factor that can catch people off guard. I had a client who planned for a 20-year retirement, but with advancements in medicine and healthcare, he ended up living into his 90s. His savings just didn't last.
So it's crucial to plan for a longer retirement than you might initially think.
Absolutely. Building a financial plan that assumes a longer life expectancy can really help avoid those surprises.
And then there's asset allocation. I imagine that can be a tricky balance to strike as you move into retirement.
For sure. Many people tend to shift their portfolios too conservatively as they retire, thinking they need to protect what they have. But if they're too conservative, they may not keep up with inflation.
That's a real balancing act, isn't it?
It really is. I remember working with a client, let's call him Greg, who put all his money into bonds because he thought that was the safest route. But with the low returns on bonds, He wasn't growing his assets enough to keep up with living expenses.
So it's important to have a diversified portfolio that still has some growth potential, right?
Exactly. A mix of stocks and bonds, adjusted over time based on their needs, can help maintain that balance.
And I think another common mistake is claiming Social Security too early.
Yes, that's a big one. Many people claim Social Security as soon as they can, but that can lead to reduced benefits over time.
Right. I've heard that waiting can really pay off in the long run.
Definitely. I had a client, let's call her Linda, who claimed at 62 instead of waiting until 70. She thought she'd need the money right away, but she ended up missing out on a significant increase in her monthly benefits.
That's tough. I guess it's all about evaluating your personal situation and making an informed decision.
Exactly. It's essential to consider your health, your financial needs, and even the longevity of your family when making that choice.
So what are some red flags people should look for when planning their retirement?
Well, if you notice you're not updating your plan regularly, that's a huge red flag. Life changes, and so should your plan.
That makes sense. What else?
If you're feeling stressed about money or unsure about your retirement strategy, that's another sign. It could be time to consult a professional or revisit your approach.
And being realistic about your expenses is crucial too, right?
Absolutely. Many people underestimate their living expenses in retirement. It's important to have a clear picture of what your lifestyle will actually cost.
So what's the takeaway here? How can someone avoid these pitfalls?
Well, the key is to create a comprehensive retirement plan that considers all these factors: taxes, healthcare, longevity, and asset allocation.
And to revisit that plan regularly, I assume?
Yes, life changes, and so should your strategy. Staying proactive can help avoid those common mistakes and keep you on track for a secure retirement.
Great advice, David. It sounds like having a solid plan and being adaptable is the way to go.
Exactly, Emily. That adaptability can make all the difference in ensuring a comfortable and fulfilling retirement.
And, of course, if listeners find themselves in a tricky spot, reaching out for professional guidance can really help.
Definitely, there's no shame in seeking help, especially when it comes to something as important as your retirement.
Wise words. Let's transition into the next steps for our listeners.
All right, Emily, now that we've talked about the ins and outs of selling your home to fund your retirement, let's dive into some immediate next steps, right?
Absolutely, David. I think a lot of our listeners might be wondering, what can I actually do today to get started?
Exactly. First off, I'd recommend sitting down and reviewing your current financial situation. Get a clear picture of your assets, liabilities, and how much equity you have in your home.
That makes total sense. And once they have that picture, what's next?
Well, a great tool to use is a retirement calculator. You can find solid ones on sites like Vanguard, Fidelity, and Charles Schwab. They help you project how much you'll need in retirement and how your home equity can fit into that picture.
Oh, I love those calculators. They're really user-friendly too. So once they've played around with those calculators, what should they do next?
After that, I'd suggest running some retirement projections. Look at different scenarios, like what if you sell your home, downsize, or even relocate to a different state.
That sounds like a smart move. It really helps to visualize how those decisions could impact their financial future.
Exactly. And while they're at it, they should also check out ssa.gov to get an estimate of their Social Security benefits. It's a crucial piece of the retirement puzzle.
Right, and knowing those numbers can help them make informed decisions about selling their home.
Definitely. And if they haven't already, it might be time to look into tax software or consulting with a tax professional. Selling a home can have tax implications that they need to be aware of.
Great point. It's so important to understand the tax landscape. What about budgeting for moving expenses?
Oh yes, that's an often overlooked detail. They should create a checklist for moving costs, like hiring movers, packing supplies, and any repairs that may need to be done before selling.
And what about tools for managing their investments or savings?
There are some excellent financial planning apps out there, like Mint or Personal Capital. They help track spending, savings goals, and investment performance.
Those can really help people stay on top of their financial health, right?
Exactly. And I'd also recommend setting a habit of reviewing their portfolio quarterly, just to ensure they're on track with their retirement goals.
That sounds doable. Small steps can make a big difference.
For sure. And speaking of small steps, I'd encourage listeners to start reading books or listening to podcasts focused on retirement planning. There are some fantastic resources out there.
Oh, absolutely. Any particular books or podcasts you'd recommend?
Well, The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey is a classic, and How to Retire Happy, Wild, and Free by Ernie J. Zielinski is really inspiring. For podcasts, The Retirement Show and Retirement Made Easy are great options.
Those sound like excellent picks. It's all about gathering knowledge, right?
Exactly. The more informed they are, the better decisions they can make. And it's never too late to improve your plan.
That's such an encouraging message, David. It really is about taking those first steps, however small.
Absolutely. And as they're making progress, they should also consider talking to a financial advisor. It can really help to have a professional guide them through this transition.
A personalized approach can make a world of difference, especially when selling a home and planning for retirement.
Right, and remember, it's all about aligning their financial strategies with their retirement goals.
So with these tools and habits in place, they're really setting themselves up for success.
Yes. And, the journey to a secure retirement is just that, a journey. It's important to take it one step at a time.
Absolutely. So those are some practical first steps. Now let's bring this all together.
Well, Emily, as we wrap up this episode, let's take a moment to recap some of the key takeaways about selling your home to fund retirement.
Absolutely, David. One big point is that selling your home can really free up equity, right? It can provide you with a significant cash flow that can support your retirement lifestyle.
Exactly. And then there's the importance of timing the market. It's essential to understand when to sell. You don't want to rush into it without considering the current real estate trends.
Right, and we also talked about the emotional aspect. Letting go of a home filled with memories can be tough. It's important to weigh that emotional cost against the financial benefits.
And let's not forget about the alternatives to selling. Downsizing or renting can also be viable options that provide flexibility without losing your home.
Yes! Those options can really help maintain your quality of life while still addressing financial needs.
It's all about building and protecting your retirement wealth, right? You want to make sure that your decisions align with your long-term goals, both financially and personally.
Exactly. And remember, it's never too late to start planning or make adjustments. Every step you take can lead to a more secure retirement.
So, listeners, if you found value in today's discussion, we'd love for you to like, subscribe, and maybe drop a comment. What was your biggest takeaway? Or do you have a question about selling your home?
And don't forget to share this episode with someone who might be planning for or already in retirement. It could really help them navigate their journey.
And next time, we're diving into how Medicare costs can affect your retirement budget, a very important topic.
Yes, it's something many people overlook, so we'll break it down for you.
Thanks for joining us today, everyone.
We appreciate you being here. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.